All right, beauties, we've got 60-minute yin, Thursday night. I'm covering for Tess, who's away in the Gold Coast, so she'll be back tomorrow. You guys are going to need a bolster of some description, a block, and like always, be set up near a wall, because you just never know what you're going to need, and the chances are there might be an opportunity to do some work on the wall at some point. All right, so this is a bit of a weird way to start a class, but I want to get this done first, and then we can start to move into some of the longer holds. So because a lot of us are doing extra amounts of sitting at the moment, I wanted to focus a little bit tonight on the more yang element of yin. So the upper body, jaw, neck, shoulders, and then we'll finish with something to ground that into the pelvis. So I want you to bring your fingers to the area of your jaw where you bite. So you might need to do like a couple of mouth open, close, and you'll start to feel like when you open and close your jaw, there'll be like a little muscle that pops out. So that is where I would like you to put like 3 of your fingers. So you might need to do a couple of little biting actions. And then once you've got that area that pops out, put your fingers in there and apply just a little bit of pressure. It won't need a lot because it's a very sensitive area for most of us. Okay, so you can see from the side there where I am. And then we're just going to start to make tiny little circular movements in a clockwise direction. And again, it feels pretty gross. It's not a nice feeling. Can actually makes me feel sometimes a little bit anxious. So maybe don't do this if you're not feeling particularly like up for it today. And we're just trying to start to take some of the tension out. Keep that pressure, and then start to go the other way. So going in anti-clockwise motion. It's very interesting for me, like when we go in a clockwise direction, I almost vomit. And when we go in an anti-clockwise direction, I can take much more pressure. So just notice that for yourself. Okay, and then release a moment. So watching me first. This is the next phase of the release. So you've got your fingers in the same spot. What you will do is you'll take an inhale, and then when you exhale, you will open your mouth as wide as you can, at the same time dragging your fingers down. So it looks like this. So really opening your mouth as you exhale, as like wide as you can. So let's do 3. So take an inhale. Wide open mouth as you exhale. Dragging your fingers all the way down. Okay, 2 more. Inhale. And then last one. Maybe a little bit more pressure. Take a huge breath in. Wide open mouth. Oh. So just give it a little bit of a one way, and then the other way. Just move that release through the fascia of your face. That's all we're going to do with the jaw today, but you guys have got tools there then if you want to start to go a little bit deeper, you can come back to that later on. Okay, come to your mat. Come to a cross-leg position with your left leg in front of your right. I'm just going to move into a bit of a neck release. So bring your left hand underneath your left butt cheek. Inhale, lift your chest up. And then lean over to your right, and as you exhale, just let your right ear rest towards your right shoulder. So we're not going to hold these like we would a standard yin pose, which would be anything between 3 to 10 minutes. And actually, mostly when we're working upper body, anything, we tend to hold the poses a lot less than the lower body stuff, simply because the muscles are generally smaller, or they're not, the tension's not as dense, doesn't need as long, and also because they're quite active, so it kind of brings us up into the sympathetic nervous system. Close down your eyes if they're not already closed. And then what I would like you guys to feel for is a sense of the left side of your neck just actually softening. So think about your inner left ear all the way down to the top of your left shoulder. And just rather than trying to actively stretch it, just kind of let it soften. It's like a warm, fuzzy feeling. And then turn the tip of your nose towards your right shoulder. And your chin comes in towards your chest. So we're targeting a little bit more into the traps, upper traps, back of your neck. Still keeping lifted through your chest. But again, just kind of feeling that soft, warm, gentle release. Nothing too hectic. It's kind of, the release happens in like phases. There's this initial like let go. And then we stay a bit longer, and then there's this like secondary unraveling. Begin to move into some of the deeper tensions, the older stuff that's there. And then bring both your hands to your knees and just let your head move through center. So you've still got your shoulders lifted and your chest open. You're just allowing the forehead to move down towards the floor. And letting all those little grippy muscles in your upper back, the back of your neck start to ungrip. And place the palm of your left hand on your forehead and just ease your head up. It's easy, easy. Change the cross of your legs. And again, if you're doing this practice at home later, you can always pause and kind of come back to that if you want to stay longer. Put your right hand underneath your right butt cheek. Inhale, lift your chest. lean over to your left, and then let your left ear just rest towards left shoulder. So again, it's just this sense of, it's like we're leaning into the shape rather than actively participating. It's a little bit of a lean back in. And again, noticing that secondary let go once the first layer's kind of shifted. And turning the tip of your nose towards your left shoulder. And then bring your chin in a little bit towards your chest. You'll hopefully start to feel that through the back of your neck on the right side, into your traps. And noticing also there's like this release of tension around my skull, so particularly around my temples and the top of my head. Just feeling in for that. And then bring your head through center, both hands on your knees. Keep your chest lifted again and just let your head hang through center. So if you want to add a little bit of pressure, you can actually rest your hands at the base of your skull like so. So you've got your fingers interlaced and just letting your elbows reach down. Still working on lifting your chest, so you're really getting into the area between your shoulder blades. And slowly release. Bring the palm of your right hand to your forehead and just help your head up. So your neck muscles are not working. Okay. Next part is our pecs. It's like upper chest region. And there's a few different ways to do this, but simply, we're just gonna keep it really simple tonight. Kneeling. If kneeling is really troublesome for you, you can do this in standing, so you can stand up. But if you can kneel, great. So you're on your knees, you're about this far, like a foot away from the wall. And then you take your right hand up the wall with your palm flat down. And again, for some of you guys, you'll want your hand quite high. Others, you want it almost shoulder height. So kind of feel in for the area that gets in for you. And then put your left hand on your chest. Inhale, lift your chest up. And then keep your head still. So don't move your neck. As you exhale, just start to move your chest away from the wall. So what we're starting to do is just kind of get under some of those deeper fibers of pec minor. And letting your right shoulder rest away from your ear, so that slides down your back. then close down your eyes. So we're not going to be here super long again. I guess these are kind of like preliminary releases so that we can get into the poses that I'm wanting to get to. And if we try and go deep before we've released the superficial aspects, it's kind of futile. It's like we've got to do the honours of releasing these compensation patterns, really. Just take a couple more breaths here. Maybe there's room to open a little more. So you might move your chest away from the wall a little bit more. And keep letting your right shoulder ease away from your ear. Okay, and then release your hand down the wall, slowly, slowly. Just take a moment there, like I can feel like all the blood rushing back through my arm, which and there's always that systematic like, tension release. And then change sides. So you switch around. So left hip towards the wall this time, left hand on the wall, right hand on your chest. And again, just play around with the position of your left arm. So there'll be a really sweet spot for you. And again, that might change as we stay, so feel free to keep shifting. It's really interesting with these release type poses how we just get so used to carrying tension in our body that we don't notice that it's there until we release. And then it's like, oh my God, like crazy. Again, let your left shoulder move down your back so it's not hunched up by your ear. There's space there. And just give yourself another few breaths. Maybe you can guide your breath into the upper part of your chest, on the left side, left armpit. And then slowly slide your left hand down the wall. Slowly, slowly. Just take a moment there. You might notice that it's actually a little bit easier to breathe. Just feel in for that. And then we're going to move into Anahadasana, which we probably will be here for a little bit longer. I'm just going to put my timer on. So if you know the pose, just head straight in. You don't need to wait for me. But here are a couple of options if you want to kind of pick and choose. So I always start from the back of the mat, and then that way I've got room to move my hands forward. So first stage would be something like this with your forehead on the floor. Just remember your hips stay over your knees. You can have your chin tucked like this. That feels better for you. And then another version that I've been working with is forehead down, palms together, elbows forward and knees back. So you get more of a stretch through the side of your body. Well, I do anyway. Kind of up near armpit region. So I guess it depends where you want to release. So for me, I don't need that because I've already done it twice today. So I'm going to go the other one. But you guys choose what works for you. Okay, I'm just going to pop my timer. Again, guys, we won't be here particularly long. Just a few minutes. But definitely enough to feel for that deep fascial release, particularly around upper back, armpits, chest. You know, like any of the yang meridians are kind of more yang yin practices. There feels like there's a little bit more effort to hold the pose. So again, just kind of work with this version in a way that is the least amount of effort. But there will be a little bit of something, particularly through your arms. Okay, my loves, we're about halfway there. So just noticing that tendency to want to move, come out, distract, whatever it is that's showing up for you today. And then also feeling for letting your belly soften. So a lot of us hold kind of deep core tension from drawing our belly in, or overdoing certain ab workouts and whatever else goes on. Just feel for letting your belly remain just soft. Okay, so slowly starting to ease out. And you might come onto your belly or your back. Whichever place you choose to come to. Just feel for what's changed, particularly around your jaw, your neck, and the region around your heart, your upper back. All right, my loves, so transitioning to one side. We're going to come into supported fish, so coming on up to sitting. So like always, if you know this shape, just head straight in. You don't need to sit through the whole spiel. If you're working with a block, you can run it either shoulder blade to shoulder blade, so horizontally, or vertically down your spine, so just depending on where you want to open. You can let your head hang back fully. You can have a blanket nearby to put underneath, if that's what you need. And then the other option is a bolster, so either or, they both go in the same place. I think I'm going to work with a block tonight for a change. So coming down onto your block or your bolster, whatever you're using. And you might start, particularly if you're on a block, you might start on the lower height. So just giving your body the opportunity to recognize there's something there. You can take your arms out to your side. They can go over your head. Oh, feels a bit, oh. And then for some of you guys, you might want to bring the soles of your feet together. Like, I don't like that in my body, but some people do. So you've got more of a Baddha Konasana thing going on. And then once you're set, we're going to be in this one for a little bit longer. So getting into some longer holds. The idea with all the fussing around at the beginning was that we kind of gave the muscles that would inhibit this pause a release. So pecs are already open, neck has been released, so head can hang back a little further, and it's not so jarring to come straight into the pause then. And then from here, my love, simply rest in stillness, like uptake. So there's a couple of minutes left for those of you that might want to kind of up level or go deeper over the block. So you can pop up and change the position. Or you may need to stay where you are. Okay, all's welcome. Okay, beauties, so take your time. You might need to pause halfway, have a little bit of a breather. Oh, and then eventually come into that place where you can rest. So somewhere neutral, just to uptake the change. Just let your body take that in. So making your way on up to sitting. We're going to move into frog pose. So this might seem like a really odd thing to do in a shoulder, neck and jaw class, but I'll explain why that's happening in a moment. So just make sure particularly if you're on a hard floor, that you've got your mat folded over and there's lots of padding. You can then use blankets under your knees and all sorts of things. Now, if you're fortunate enough to have a bolster at home, that might be something you consider using. It's not a requirement, so if you don't have a bolster, don't worry. So if you've got a bolster, that's just here supporting your torso, not your pelvis. So get your shins out parallel-ish towards the outer edge of the mat. And we're looking for a groin opening, so you might need to rearrange the location of your hips in space to feel that. Without the bolster, looks pretty much the same. So you might be all the way down, you might be on your forearms, you might be up a little higher, that's okay too. And then for those of you that do have knee things happening, because we're targeting the groin, you can just come up onto the wall and you'll still get that same release. It just means there's no pressure on your knees. So you might scoot your butt a bit closer, a bit further away, just kind of feel into where you need to be. So I see a lot of people with their hips really close to their heels, which is fine, but just make sure that you're definitely feeling it in your inner thigh region. And again, we're going to be here a little bit longer. It's like not crazy long holds tonight, but enough. And then letting yourself settle in to wherever you are, knowing that there'll be a number of stages to the release. So there's no rush, there's nowhere to get to. Our pelvis is directly connected to the jaw. So this tension in the pelvis, likewise in the jaw, and vice versa. So we've given the jaw a bit of a release, which might mean the pelvis can go a little bit deeper. Just kind of let's see what happens. And then again, just as you notice where there's gripping, clenching, resistance to going deeper, just kind of watch how that plays out in your body. Just notice. just moving into those last few minutes, and there's always an opportunity to just observe if there is room to go deeper. And that might look like moving a proper way, or taking your legs a little further apart. Or maybe where you are is still very much the razor's edge, and you're quite okay with the intensity. And then for these last few minutes, let gravity do all the work. So take your time. We've been here a little while. And start to slowly ease on out. Oh. So again, you may come down onto your back or your belly. Just choose. If you're on the wall, you might want to take your legs up the wall. And then let your body rest fully in the earth. It's that uptake, the change. Okay, my loves, you can stay where you are on your back, and we're setting up for twisted roots. So bring your feet flat, knees are bent, and then shift your pelvis over to the right, 2 or 3 inches. Just take your right leg over your left, so you might do once, maybe twice if that's there. And then both your knees will go to your left. If you need to, you can pop a bolster underneath your knees or a block. And for some of you, if this is just too intense on your back, which it might be, just undo the bind and work with both knees bent. So that's pretty easy. And then right arm reaches up by your head, or maybe by shoulder height. Left arm can go where that wants to. It's just maybe because we're working into pecs, you put it somewhere where you get a release through your arms. And then letting your upper back kind of rest down into the earth. So there's no grip in there. Okay, my loves. Start to unravel. Just bring your top leg off first. And bringing both knees back through centre. Oh. So you might want to take a moment there. If you need to extend legs out, you can. Just kind of pausing before we move to the second side. Okay, and then transition in, so that little shuffle of your pelvis again. Left leg over your right, once or twice. Again, you can pop something under your knees to support. You have your arms in cactus arms over your head, out to shoulder height. And then try before bringing your knees like a little closer towards your chest. And this is your final pause before Shavasana, before final rest. Just allow yourself to land in your body, to uptake all of the energy that's shifted. Okay, my loves. So as before, start to unravel, take your top leg off first. Just a little bit friendlier on your lower back. Bring your pelvis back through center. And this time move into final rest. Shavasana. So you've obviously got the option to take your legs up the wall. Or you might have something else you like to do. And then resting in this place, just feeling the connection of energy running through the whole of your body, particularly through your bones, like that bone deep rest. if you need longer, stay where you are. Otherwise, invite your breath in. Let's make the transition to one side slowly, so easy. And ease on up to sitting. And just that moment before you move into your next task, whatever that may be, just to feel for what is here in your body now. And bring your hands to rest at your heart. Namaste.